The setting for the opening of our poem is at Christmas time. It is a setting which automatically puts us in that realm of the birth of Christ. And here in Arthur's court, they're merrymaking, they are rejoicing, they have a great feast going on. The reason being is that they're celebrating that birth of Christ, which represents the salvation of the world. It also represents a certain newness, a freshness, a youth here, because this, of course, is the beginning of the year. And so we have that birth of Christ being sort of the predominant theme at the very beginning of this story. Also at this time, we're celebrating the old pagan holiday of sun return, which is where the sun had gone down in the zenith all the way down on the horizon to its lowest point, and the days were as dark as possible. And now they are changing and they're going to become lighter and lighter. It's the solstice, as we call it, the sun standing still period. And at that moment of sun return, there was that pagan sense of return of the light and return of the life. So we have, on the one hand, the birth of Christ and the salvation of mankind as sort of the frame for this story. But on the other hand, we also have that sun return image and the beginning of the sun's cycle into the next year. These two elements create great joy in the court of King Arthur. And all the people there are living in equanimity. They are part of the sense of jubilation and celebration that occurs. You'll see in this text that the men and women of Camelot are feasting such that they're laughing and eating together, but also that when they play their games, he that won was not wroth, as ye will well trow, and they made all this mirth together, as was fitting for the season, so that if one man loses, he's not mad about the fact that he loses. There's such a great sense of joy going on at this time period. Notice also that the colors of Christmas, which are normally green and red, are predominant later on in the text, as we'll make note of. Christmas is that time of year where things that seem to be dead in the midst of winter begin to come back to life, so to speak. And so we begin this whole story set at Christmas time, that whole period from Christmas all the way up until the Epiphany. And that setting then makes a frame for the thematic idea here in the story of rejuvenation and rebirth and new life and youth. The young men and women of Camelot are celebrating, though, as though there's not a care in the world. And into that great joy comes suddenly something which is not entirely benign, something which doesn't necessarily seek their good. Arthur himself somewhat precipitates this entrance of the creature, of the Green Knight, into the celebration, because he says that he won't eat his meat until some miracle occurs. We see that in the next stanza, so let's look at that next.